Hey friends, Victor Costa, how you doing? Peace, love, and muscles. Hope you're well. Trying to go live here, and I'm trying to get you guys to interact with me. And there we are. All right. So let's see if we can get some questions. If we can't get any questions, that's okay. What we're going to do is I'm going to just share with you a couple of tips and tricks and talk with you guys about some interesting topics. So how about I just go ahead and talk to you about some interesting topics. Let's see. How can I get, I don't know if I can get comments here. That's okay. So anyway, we're going to go through a couple things. So you see the mess. There we go. Greg Thomas, peace, love, and muscles to you. How are you? How you doing? So I did a video a couple of weeks ago, and what's really weird is I don't know that you guys are actually getting my videos when I post them. And I'm not so sure what's going on with the sub page and so forth, but I've been posting some videos and they've been getting about maybe 1,500 to 2,000 or 3,000 views. And sure, some of the, you want to talk Broadway and musicals. Hang on, I've got an agenda here today. We'll talk Broadway and musicals later on. In fact, Mrs. Costa is going to be walking through the door in a little bit, but BFR training, don't know what that is. Don't know what that is. All right, let me just get into what I'm talking about, and then we'll answer as many questions as possible, and I'll try to accommodate everybody. I really appreciate you guys coming on. Some of the videos that I've been posting are subtle. You know, they're like subtle things that really are helpful, and it's not always about, you know, how to get jacked the most, how to, you know, how to get the most ripped and so forth. There are things that hopefully will make you think and somehow contribute to what you're trying to do. So I try to create content that sticks in your mind so that you remember these things and they're valuable to you throughout your life. How to do a set of biceps. Some of my videos are like that, where I try to say things that will kind of trigger some things in the gym so that you'll remember them. But some of the other things are more about your wellness. And I wanted to point out one of the videos that I did recently that I'd love for you guys to look at, which is cheat meals versus cheat days. And I thought to myself, you know, I always see these videos about, you know, these epic cheat meals and what people are doing, and some of the celebrity guys who just, you know, take an entire day and eat, you know, whatever, all day long. And hey, Vinayak, how are you? Randall, how are you? You know, there's a difference between, you know, having something that you enjoy, right? That tastes good on your palate, that you haven't had in a while, that you feel is a treat or something delicious that may not be, you know, part of your daily intake because it is either super fatty or super rich or super sugary or whatever. But the quantities that some of these people are showing that they eat, you know, I started to wonder whether or not we're talking about really, you know, a series of deprivation and then abuse rather than, you know, participating and enjoying in something that you haven't had in a while. So there's this fine line between, you know, an enjoying something and then also a disorder. And to me, in terms of using the word disorder, I know that that's potentially cheapening or sullying the folks who have other types of disorders that are much more well known, like anorexia and bulimia and so forth. But that doesn't mean that we can't have disorders too. What I think of disorders is disorderly eating, and some of the programs that talk about, you know, deprivation for certain hours and then loading are similar in some ways. But to deprive oneself for a very long period of time and then to go into this mode of abuse, which, you know, I'm not even sure that people you know, actually taste the food after a while when they do this tremendous gorging afterwards. And I feel that that's disorderly eating. So what I would suggest in terms of cheat meals and so forth, please watch the video, it's on my channel. But, you know, enjoy what you like, you know, throughout your life, you know, not just on a specific day. You know, you can have a little something every few days or every couple of days rather than, you know, loading up and on a particular day because you haven't had it in such a long period of time. So there's this fine line between, you know, abusing the body and treating, right? Which we tend to think of. So I wanted you to watch that video because I feel that that's very important. Another thing, people talk about squeezing at the top of an exercise. So what I'm noticing is that the sensation and the idea of squeezing really happens not so much in the muscle, it happens in this area. I see people, they get to the apex of the repetition or the contraction or whatever you want to call it, and that's where they force energy rather than, in this area. I see the energy in here. So they get to the top of an exercise and they throw this in there rather than sublimating the energy into the particular muscle group that they want to work. So I wanted to address the squeezing at the top. The squeezing at the top is it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because if I've been doing the repetition the proper way throughout the beginning of the repetition, there is no more concentration at the top than there has been at the bottom of the rep, halfway through the rep, and at the completion of the rep. There's been a squeezing and a connection and a concentration all along. So rather than just doing anything you can and then getting up here and then, right? What about the journey along the repetition? And if I hear another trainer using the word journey along the repetition, I'm going to call you out, okay? As much as I love you. And I like to see, if people steal my ideas, it's obviously the ultimate form of flattery, but what about copyright? Does anybody care anymore about anything? My stuff's copywritten. But I wanted to talk to you about that. So let's talk about not skipping over, in general, the repetition. Let's talk about a mindful repetition all the way throughout the exercise. So there is no squeezing at the top when you've been, quote unquote, squeezing all along or directing the muscle all along. And we do this by being connected, and we have, by being connected throughout the repetition and being in a concentration mode of really focus and bringing yourself back into your body rather than the mirror, the music, the noise, the person walking by that you think is attractive. You can see who's in their body and who's outside of their body. Now, there was a guy at my gym who had everything on. He had the hat tilted to the side. He had sunglasses on. He had this whole setup, and he wasn't in his body. He was voguing for the rest of the gym rather than being inside of his body. So I think there is something really, really important about the concentration and connectedness to one's set. And that goes along with not throwing the energy out all over the place with it's more of an inward connection, an inward concentration about feeling the body rather than counting the reps, moving the body deliberately along the plane of the exercise, and not necessarily worried about squeezy at the top because you've been connected the entire time, right? So it's lifting the weights up and then lifting the weights down, moving the weights up and moving the weights down, moving the hand up, moving the hand down, however you want to think of it. And I want to leave you with something else. There's some subtleties to the way that I train that I think that are very valuable to you. And I think that there's a couple of ways to think about it. And I'm going to show you a demonstration with the dumbbells in a minute. But anybody have any questions real quick? Never seen a bicep like yours, been trying to find one as good for years. You've been trying to find one. Why don't you try to make one, Mr. Ward? Greg Thomas, thank you very much. Jose, what are your thoughts on BFR? I don't know what that is. And morning, Vic. Good morning, Mr. Olmstead. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the repetition. Since I can't see any more comments, maybe that's only 19 people here, whatever. But before, I do want to remind you guys of something. So I've been here's my book, Peace, Love, and Muscles. It's a good read. There's some interesting things in here. I want you to know there's the way that I do the exercises are actually in here. And I'll show you. There's some pictures. And these pictures came out pretty good. My wife actually took these pictures in a gym. And many years ago, I actually love this picture. This is good. We took this at a place, I think it was called, it ultimately became a powerhouse gym. It might have been called Diesel. I think so. And it was in Manhattan on 23rd Street between 6th and 7th Avenue, which coincidentally is near the YMCA, which became a David Barton Gym and then a Crunch. But that YMCA is featured in the YMCA video from the Village People. I grew up in Greenwich Village. That's why I'm so cool. Anyway, Greenwich Village is still the heart of New York. Here's some videos and pictures that my friend Brad Calcaterra took of me. And this book goes through all the exercises. It goes through also philosophy. The first half of the book is about philosophy. But here's the story. A lot of people don't want to buy the book because it's 25 bucks. It's on Amazon, whatever. I'm giving the book away for anybody that makes a contribution on PayPal. The address is vicsnatural@aol.com. So any sum, whether you throw 50 cents, a buck, $3, $5. Somebody sent $25 the other day, which was really, really generous, but they wrote this note about thank you for all the other stuff that you've done for me and everything. I appreciate that. So it's PayPal, vicsnatural@aol.com is my receipt. And no matter what you send, I will send you a copy of the book or an email PDF version of the book. And a portion of that will go to Action Against Hunger. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk about the repetition. I have some room back here, and I've got a dumbbell over here. I carry dumbbells wherever I go. I got a dumbbell in every room. Just kidding. Here we go. So maybe you guys can see me. Hopefully you can see me, right? And so when I do this repetition, a lot of people they move this weight up, and they try to get us up as much as they can. I've seen a lot of this, right? You've seen this in the gym. This is everything but trying to get the bicep. This is actually avoiding your muscles deliberately when you do something like this, okay? I need you to have a straight arm completely. This is how I do all my training. This weight is probably about, 15 pounds, something like that. Everybody balks, Vic, how do you, get big with light weights? And I'm telling you because the muscle is gonna move the weight. My entire structure can easily throw around 15 pounds or 20 pounds, but that's not what this is about. This isn't about how much my back can lift. It's not about how much the energy can throw up. It's about this connectedness. So even if I hold this weight in my hand and I hold my arm out straight, I start to feel something. I start to feel a connection. When you grab the weights and you start getting into it, you don't have a connection to your body. You feel that connection as soon as you touch the weight, and then you really kind of start relaxing all the other muscles and putting the energy into one area of your body, okay? And this actually starts to not only bring the concentration into the area that you want to work, it takes the stress off the rest of the body, and it actually makes you feel results oriented, rather than me picking this up, feeling tired elsewhere, and then all of a sudden feel like I did a set. You guys, a lot of people are missing exactly what they want. So this is what I need for you to do. I need you to hold the weight and just keep your arms extended. That's it. This is how you begin the connection. Now you start to squeeze the weight with your grip, or loosen the hands. You can feel the difference. You can feel the connectedness to your body. You'll notice that my traps aren't up like this, right? Very relaxed. And as I start coming up with a relaxed hand, I don't pull anything. The first idea is to gesture as if I'm going to move this weight up, excuse me, without moving the weight up. So I'm gesturing as if I'm going to do it. And I want to remind you what that means. You know what a segue? You know what a segue is? You lean forward and the segue moves because it understands where you're moving. That's kind of like this. What you're going to do is gesture as if you're moving up, and then you're going to gesture first, which activates the area that you want to work. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to start to pull as if I'm going to do the exercise without doing it, and then I'm going to move up nice and slow as soon as I've made that connection. If I miss this connection right here, it's over. It's over, because here's what happens. If I miss the most vital part of the connection, I'm not really connected throughout the rest of the movement. I need you guys to start from the very beginning of the exercise, from the eccentric part of the movement. I need you to make your movements broader. I need you to do that because people come to me and they say, why don't I have this area of my body developed? They show me a rep. And the next thing you know, it's like elementary. What have you been doing? You've been actually halving what you're supposed to do. It's only half the story. You're only doing half the arm. You're only doing half of the movement. If I do this, If I do this, what am I doing? I'm going to miss this, right? I'm coming up here. So theoretically, I've got the weight about 15% up, and I haven't used my biceps yet. I've gamed it up, okay? Now, this isn't about how much weight you can move. If you're trying to move as much weight as possible, yes, you have to do that. But that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to pump up your guns. Hands relaxed, arms extended. Gesture as if you're going to move up. Keep your hand relaxed and move up nice and slow. So you gesture as if. As soon as that little connection happens, that's when you start moving the weight up deliberately, nice and slow to build your connection. You find the apex of the exercise, which is the area where you're most contracted, not up here. And if you're doing this right, you'll feel the bicep connected and contracted around here. And that's what you're really going for, right? That's what you're kind of going for. And then you move the weight down. Again, same thing, controlled on the way down. You're moving the weight up and you're moving the weight down, not letting it fall. So if I see this, anything like this, if anything moves other than my arm first, you're off base. So it's okay to start with light weights. It's okay to maintain a connection to your body. It's okay to get reconnected to your body. And that's really the most important part about my training. It's not about how much abuse or how much stress you can put on your body. It's about really just getting that connection. It's about just really kind of getting back into your body rather than being all out here. The energy comes back in. People say, hey, how can you do this? How can you do this? I hope we're still alive. Yeah, I think so. People say, how can you do this without drugs? How can you do this without steroids? I don't think you can do it with steroids. I don't think these concepts make sense with drugs. They don't, because the drugs are in charge of how things are going to go. This is satisfaction. You're directing this. You're crafting your body. You're not letting the drugs do it and then catching up. You are in charge of this. And sure, there's elements of diet that are very, very important about this. Absolutely. There's rest as well. I see some guy yelling the other day about cheat days. No cheat day, or there's no rest days. No rest day. He really doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not a qualified trainer. It's fun and cheeky and everything like that, but there's not really, it's not a science-based model. It's not an intelligent-based model. So what we want to do is we want to get connected to our bodies, and that's in everything. So no matter what we're doing, we try that movement. Now there is a element of bodybuilding that has some momentum, but what happens is a lot of people don't really understand how that works either. So what you have to do is you have to understand the first part about getting the connectedness, and then after that, that's when you can continue with the pumping iron aspect of this. You can start moving into the body with this pumping iron momentum to an extent. So first we get connected, and that's sort of how we do it. We do that for like a couple of weeks. We start to really feel our bodies, and then we get a little bit more liberal about how we're doing the sets and the exercises. So I've spoken for 20 minutes, super quick. I hope we're still connected. Facebook keeps saying on the side, you don't have permission to do this. I don't know what that means. It says permissions, I don't know. I've got a couple of different channels and stuff. So anyway, I love you guys. Peace, love, and muscles. I hope you've seen the video. I hope you are all still there. I'm gonna just like. So anyway, again, if you want the book, Peace, Love, and Muscles, a PDF copy sent to you, I will send it to you for any contribution to PayPal. It's Vicsnatural@AOL.com. Yes, it's still an AOL address. And like I said, inside are all the exercises and how I do them. And there's even a home workout in the back. And we filmed this actually, or we did this on my roof, different exercises. It's the Superman. So anyway, peace, love, and muscles. Take care of yourselves. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Love you all. Don't forget to like, share, and sub on my channels. And you can hit me up on Instagram at Vicsnatural. Take care. Thanks. Bye. Love you guys.